you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. He picked us up in a white truck, said his house was just down the road. The meat in his freezer was wrapped in butcher paper, but none of it had labels. This happened in summer of 2016. I was 20, my best friend Tyler was 21. We were backpacking through the American Midwest, small towns, state parks, just chasing that idea of freedom before real life started. We planned to stay with friends in Missouri, but the rideshare we lined up bailed last minute. We were stranded in a small town called Cider Bluff, population under 2,000. No Uber, no taxis, and the only bus didn't come out until the next day. It was 95 degrees, no shade, no signal. We sat outside a gas station, sweating, dehydrated, waiting for something to give. That's when he pulled up. White Chevy, clean, no rust, Texas plates. Driver looked mid-50s, square jaw, aviators, beige work shirt with a faint grease stain and a red patch that read Don. He smiled when he spoke, the kind of smile that stays even when the conversation's done. "You boys stuck?" Tyler told him our story. He nodded. "Well, I'm heading east. Farm's just up the road if you want to cool off. I got food, AC." We hesitated, but we were tired, hot, hungry, and desperate. Tyler glanced at me. I nodded, and we got in the truck. It was 5 minutes down a dirt road surrounded by fields. No neighbours, no cars, just a square white house, a barn behind it, and silence. The kind of place you don't stumble across unless you're invited. Inside it was colder than I expected. Spotless floors, lace curtains, a faint lemon smell, like artificial cleaner masking something older. Don led us to the kitchen, offered us bottled water, fried chicken on the stove. We sat, ate, relaxed. He barely spoke, just watched, then said, "You boys can stay the night if the bus don't work out." Tyler smiled. I forced one. Don added, "The basement's cooler, you'll sleep better." While Tyler went to the bathroom, Don opened a chest freezer against the wall. Inside, dozens of packages wrapped in butcher paper, neatly stacked, no labels. I asked what they were. He said, "Cuts I process myself, got friends in ranching." He lifted one, showed me the wrap. It wasn't sealed, and the paper had what looked like handwriting on the inside. Just a few letters, A, K, maybe. He shoved it back quickly, smiled. When Tyler came back, Don said he had to check something in the barn. "Be right back, help yourselves to anything." He stepped outside. The screen door creaked and then slammed. We were alone. I looked at Tyler. "Something feels off." He frowned. "Yeah." We snooped. There was no Wi-Fi, no cell signal. The landline had no dial tone, and living room looked normal, except for one photo. Don in a butcher's apron, but the face of the person next to him was scratched out, and in the hallway was a locked door. Next to it, a small shelf with dozens of keys. Each key had a tag, not labelled by room, labelled by names. First names, Tyler, Mark, Simon, Jenna, and one that said, 2 backpackers. We froze, and then we heard it. Footsteps on the porch. We ran to the back door, locked. We tried the window, nailed shut. We sprinted to the front, and just as the porch door opened, Don stepped in, smiling. "Find everything okay?" He gestured down the hall. "I made the basement up, coldest room in the house." We hesitated, then he added, "Or you can sleep in the barn, your call." Tyler said, "We'll take the barn." He didn't like it, but let us. He led us out, unlocked the hatch. Inside was old hay, rusted tools, and dust. No animals. He handed us a flashlight. "Stay safe. Wind gets real loud out here." then locked the door behind us. We didn't sleep, whispered to each other all night, listened for footsteps, voices, anything. At sunrise, we used the rusted tool to pry open a back panel and climbed out through a gap, ran to the road, flagged down a farmer in a red truck, begged for help. He looked spooked when we said the name Don, drove us straight to the sheriff's office. We told them everything, the key shelf, the freezer, the names, the photo, the tags. They listened, took notes, said they'll look into it. A week later, we called the station. They said they had followed up, went to the house, spoke to Don, said you boys were real nervous, claimed he let you sleep in the barn because you were paranoid. He's got no record, no cause for arrest, everything was in order. Tyler asked about the freezer, said they saw sealed venison and beef cuts, nothing suspicious. The tags, just hobby stuff, guy's a collector. I asked if they checked the basement, didn't see a need. He gave us a walkthrough, that was it. We never got closure. But last year, Tyler sent me a link, local article, 2 teens missing, last seen near Cider Bluff, photo of them by a white truck, a blurry driver, but I knew that jawline, that same flat, constant smile. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. But if someone offers you shelter off a rural road, don't go in for the water, don't eat the food, and if they've got a basement, don't ever go down there, because sometimes kindness wears someone else's skin. If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others, hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. I submitted my final paper online. My professor responded with a photo of me asleep in my dorm. This happened in 2019 during my final year at a private university in Oregon. I majored in journalism, I worked 2 part-time jobs and lived in a campus-affiliated dorm, the kind where the rooms look more like hotel suites than shared spaces. Clean, compact, keycard entry. That spring semester, I took an elective called Investigative Media Ethics. I was taught by a new professor, Dr. R. British, mid-40s, charming in a calm, deliberate way. Spoke with authority and he knew what he was doing. Everyone liked him. At first, so did I. In the beginning, he complimented my first assignment in front of the whole class, said I had a rare instinct for detail. At first, I appreciated the attention. He seemed invested, offered feedback that felt genuine, encouraged me to push boundaries with my writing. He replied to emails within minutes, always detailed, always thoughtful. It wasn't until week 4 that it started to feel personal. After submitting my second assignment, he emailed back, "I can tell you stayed up late writing this. The tiredness bleeds through the syntax. That's a compliment." That line sat with me, but I brushed it off until the next week when I got another email. The subject line was, "Better sleep this time." Inside, "Just wondering, your sentence structure is sharper. Are you more rested?" No context, no follow-up. I mentioned it casually to a friend. She joked that maybe he was flirting, but I didn't laugh because something about it felt watched, observed. He had no way of knowing how much sleep I was getting. By week 6, he started showing up outside of class. I'd see him on campus, not walking somewhere, just standing. Once outside the library, once near the dorm commons, always reading, always glancing up. He never approached, just looked and then walked off. One Friday, after a late shift at the campus cafe, I got back to my dorm around 1 AM. The hallway was empty. As I walked to my door, I saw something on the floor, slid underneath. A folded envelope. Inside, a printed photo of me, sitting in the cafe, wearing the same clothes I'd just taken off. Behind the counter, candid, taken from outside the shop window, No note, just a photo. I went to campus security. I showed them the photo. I told them everything. They were sympathetic, but cautious. They said without proof that it was Dr. R who took it, there wasn't much they could do. No fingerprints, no video footage from outside the cafe. The outdoor cam had been offline due to maintenance that week. They advised me to document everything, so I started a log. Final papers were due at the end of April. I stayed up late finishing mine, a long-form profile on whistleblower ethics in digital journalism. I submitted it at 2:12 a.m. 10 minutes later, I got an email. Subject, proof of concept. Inside was a single attachment, a photo of me in my dorm bed, asleep, taken from the foot of my bed. Same sheets, same blanket, timestamp, 2:09 a.m, just 3 minutes before I submitted the file. I screamed, generally. I locked the door, I turned on every light, called campus police. They took it seriously this time. Officers came, checked the room, nothing out of place, but when they checked the ceiling vent above my bed, they found a thin camera rig, power cable, and a micro SD card taped to the side. Whoever had been watching me had done it quietly. IT checked the email metadata. The sender wasn't Dr. R, it was a private encrypted service routed through 2 VPNs. But the file name of the photo? Final submission confirmed.jpg. Police pulled security logs from the dorm. No one badged in, but someone used a guest override from the master system. An old employee access code, deactivated, except in one location, the School of Journalism building. Only full professors had that level of override. Dr. R was placed on leave. No charges were filed, a lack of hard proof, but he didn't come back. He left campus, resigned 2 months later. I thought that was it. Until 3 weeks after graduation, I received a small brown parcel at my parents' house. No return address. Inside, a flash drive and a note. The grade you deserved. You never needed the cameras, but I did. The drive had one file, a folder named Observations. Inside, photos, dozens, all of me, sleeping, studying, eating. Some taken from inside the dorm, others from the window. Some I couldn't even identify the angle. And at the end, a Word document, just one paragraph. You're more than a student. You're something I could never be. Unaware, unburdened, original. I tried to learn from you. I failed. I gave the flash drive to the police. They launched a new investigation, this time federal. But they never found him. The last I heard, the trail went cold outside of Colorado. No sightings, no trace. But 2 months ago, I received a LinkedIn request. No name, no photo. Just a headline, Observer, learning quietly. I didn't accept, but when I checked the profile, the education section listed University of Oregon, Investigative Ethics, Thesis Advisor, my name. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. But if someone watches you long enough, they don't always want to harm you. Sometimes they just want to be you. And when that fails, they follow you anyway. If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others. Hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. She said we looked alike. Then she started dressing like me. Then she tried to move into my apartment while I was still living there. In 2020, I moved to a new city for a fresh start. Got a decent job in healthcare admin. Landed a 1-bed flat in a renovated Victorian duplex on the edge of Baltimore. It was perfect. Quiet street, high ceilings, coffee shop next door. The building had 4 units total. That's how I met Alina. She lived across the hall, apartment 1B. She introduced herself my second day there. Late 20s, friendly, stylish. She offered to help me carry a box of books. then invited me for wine that evening. She seemed cool, a little intense maybe. But when you're new to a place, friendliness feels like gold. She complimented my clothes, my hair, my laugh, a lot. I figured she was just being nice. She asked about my job, my hometown, my favourite coffee shop, even what shampoo I used. Said it smelled like her childhood. She said we looked alike. I didn't see it, but she insisted. Over the next few weeks we hung out regularly, but little things started to feel off. She showed up at my door without texting, even late at night. One morning I stepped out and she was already there. "Oh, you're up. Wanted to try that shampoo. Can I borrow some?" Then I noticed she cut her hair exactly like mine. Same length, same part. I laughed it off, but the next time we met up, she was wearing my perfume. I hadn't even told her the name. She said, "I smelled it on your scarf and tracked it down. I hope you don't mind." I went to a friend's birthday dinner across town, and when I got back, my hallway light was on. Inside the apartment, nothing seemed moved until I saw the bathroom. The towel on the rack was damp. The toothbrush in the holder was mine, but a little too dry, like it had been swapped. And one of my earrings, just one, was on the sink. I called Lena, asked if she'd been in. She sounded surprised. No, why would I? I wouldn't have your key anyway." I never gave her a key, but then I remembered. I left it in a flower pot once, one time. It got worse. She started dressing more like me. Same shirts, similar jeans, identical boots. She asked which gym I used, and then showed up there. Same yoga class, uninvited. When I didn't respond to texts fast enough, she'd knock on my door, hard. Once, I didn't answer, and she texted, "I can hear you breathing through the door." That's when I stopped talking to her, completely. I put a camera outside my door, didn't tell anyone, and that night, it triggered at 2:48 AM. Footage showed Elena standing silently outside my door, not knocking, not moving, just standing, for 14 minutes, and then she walked away. 3 days later, I got a call from my building manager. He said my move-out form had been submitted and they were ready to schedule a walkthrough. I hadn't submitted anything. I told him so. He apologised, said it must have been a mix-up. Said he had an email from myname.moveout@gmail.com with my lease number and signature. I asked for a copy. The signature was mine, copied perfectly, but the date, dated the morning after Elena had been outside my door. Then came the package, left on my doorstep, name, mine. Inside, a set of keys, a copy of my ID, badly photoshopped with her face, a welcome letter from a storage unit addressed to Elena B, aka my name. I called the police. I filed for a restraining order. They said they'd issue a wellness check, but there wasn't much they could do without violence or a direct threat. That night, I installed a second indoor camera. At 4:16 AM, I got an alert. The camera had triggered. I opened the feed. Someone was inside my flat. Not stealing, not trashing the place, just standing in my bedroom, looking down at me. Hair like mine, clothes like mine. They left without waking me. The police took it seriously after that. They pulled Elena in, found a journal in her flat, dozens of pages, how to be her, practice smile in mirror, replace ID by June, convince landlord she's moving. They found photos of me sleeping, of me eating, of me in the shower, taken through the window with a zoom lens. But Elena didn't fight it. She just said, she didn't deserve that life, I did. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. But if someone gets too friendly too fast, if they love everything about you, be careful, because sometimes admiration isn't admiration, sometimes it's practice, and once they've studied you long enough, they don't want to be your friend, they want to be you.